What is going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode of 100 Yards of Football Sports Talk Radio. I'm your host and producer, Logan Landers, and joining me here today to talk about the Iowa Hawkeyes 2024 team preview is my guy from the Elite Sports and Entertainment Network, Jay McLovin. Jay, how you doing this afternoon, my friend? And how do you feel about Iowa coming into this season? Obviously, we know last year everyone was looking at this team saying, okay, they have a absolute monster of defense. The offense,
Right.
something to behold, something that they need to improve on.
Mm-hmm.
Have they done it in this off season and through recruiting and whatnot? And do you think it will improve in 2024 so they can really have the full piece of the puzzle for a complete football team?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, look, I'll be doing better if the Astros can beat Boston tonight. So
fingers crossed on that. Yeah, there you go.
Crossed. But yeah, when it comes to Iowa, look, this is a good team. They're not elite, but they're a good team. They're not, like you said, they're known for their defense, but they're also known for their tight end development as well.
Right.
And to your point, where you talked about how the defense is good, but the offense kind of leaves something to lack. The offense is good, but is it the offense you said?
No. Yeah. Defense is great. Offense needs to.
Yeah. I can't remember how you worded it. I just want to make sure I got it. But yeah, so what they did was, if you look at their top players, you got Cade McNamara at quarterback, you got Caleb Johnson at running back, then you got Caleb Brown at wide receiver, and then you got Luke Lachey at tight end. Then you start getting into the defense a little bit. Defensive lineman, Deontay Craig, Aaron Graves, and then the linebacker Jay Higgins, and defensive back Sebastian Castro. That's really their top guys that they have coming back, right? The unproven players obviously would be their place kicker in Drew Steven and their center in Logan Jones. Those are unproven guys. Not a lot of experience, though, Logan, at wide receiver, which I think kind of goes more to what you were saying earlier about, their offense not being quite as good, because they don't have a lot of experience at that spot. Head coach Kirk Fritz, he's in his 26th season, so he's been there a hot minute. Last year's record for him was 10-4, but they lost the Citrus Bowl. And what was interesting to me is, the way in which they lost it. I think they. Correct me if I'm wrong, Logan, but they had a 10-3, or they went to the Citrus Bowl. It was a 10-3, but it wasn't the defense it wasn't the offense that lost it, but it was the defense that lost it for them. They just couldn't stop the points.
Yeah, I mean, whenever you face the top team in the country in Michigan, in the game they had was where they lost 26-0. They were shut out there. And obviously we know what Michigan went on to go do, and that's win the whole thing, win the national championship. So that was a tough loss for him. But also, too, Jay, you mentioned the Citrus Bowl. That was against Tennessee, SEC opponent there. They lost 35-0. They didn't score a single point in back-to-back games. And like I said, their defense was non-existent also. So it was a good season overall, obviously, when you look at the win-loss record and where they ended up. But not a really good note to end on, for sure.
Well, I'll tell you, Logan, they got a 3% chance is what people are giving them. When I looked at it at the percentages, they got a 3% chance at winning the Big Ten. Not that great. I'm looking at 6 to 7 wins possibly, but you're right. There is a huge disparity between the offense and defense. When you look at it, they fielded the worst offense in the country, Logan. Last year they finished 134 out of 134.
Mm-hmm.
So they're rock bottom when it comes to offense. Out of the lowest grade, grade offenses in the bottom 25 was Iowa. So, they only had, I think, they only won with the winning. They had a winning record, but it just wasn't. But it's because of the defense. It wasn't really anything that the offense necessarily did. They played the Big Ten championship, which was great, but they didn't make it, or they didn't win it. They won, which is weird. So they won 10 games in 2023. That just doesn't happen without an elite defense. Should happen again in this year as well. So they had an elite defense, which is what got them where they are. They should have the same elite type of defense this year. But again, it's the offense that doesn't look all that great. The strength, again, is the defense. Top 10 defense the last 4 seasons. The number 2 secondary, or the second secondary with the linebacker unit and the country's best defensive coordinator in Phil Parker. So they have a great linebacking core, the number 2 secondary, and a great defensive coordinator. That's their strength. Their weakness, again, obviously, glaringly, is their offense. Like I said, they feel the nation's worst or least efficient offense in the past 3 seasons. So this is 3 seasons, getting ready to go on 4 seasons of lackluster offense. And I don't know how he's keeping his job or why, they haven't switched up these offensive coordinators or what to get this offense back on track. And if you're anywhere near the 134 season, I would definitely be looking to replace him and go in a different direction, at least on the offensive side of the ball. My thing is the key players that I got returning from injury. Key players are returning from injury, and a new offensive coordinator in Tim Lester hopefully will get this back, but we'll see. I don't know. It's too early to tell. 2023 rushing success was at 43%. The pass success rate was at 37%. So neither passing or rushing, anywhere was near 50%. Obviously, their passing was at 37%. So that just kind of tells you all you need to know right there. Offenses suffered because of the wrong person at the key positions. I'm going to say it again. The problem is they have the wrong person at the key positions. Also, injuries. I'll give them that. Poor in-game decision-making, Logan. That's another issue. Hopefully, Tim Lester can fix that. Could be resolved, like I said, in a single season, but hasn't. So can it get resolved this season? I mean, experts are saying no, but I guess we'll wait and see what happens with Tim. The only coaching change was we're playing Brian Fritz's son of the head coach, Kirk Fritz, with Tim Lester. So his son was out. Yeah, because he didn't do a great job. Then they brought in Tim Lester to replace him. So he is the new offensive coordinator and quarterbacks coach. The last thing I'll say is their third down efficiency, Logan, was at 12%. 12%. I mean, if that doesn't tell you why they got the worst offense in the nation, well, that tells you everything you need to know right there. All running backs from last year are returning. Number 4 Williams, running back Johnson. Each is averaging over 4 yards per carry. Tim Lachey is probably the best target that they have and should be a first-round pick in the draft. So that should be good right there. The last thing I want to say, then I'm out. I'll turn it over to you, Logan. When I look at their schedule, Minnesota, Ohio, Wisconsin, all those or all 3 of those games, I do believe that they're going to lose. Cade quarterback McNamara, I just want to kind of point out he is coming back. He had 505 yards, 4 touchdowns, 3 interceptions with a QBR rating of 28.9. And the one thing I want to point out about Cade McNamara is, now he only has started 21 games. In 2023, he did have a leg injury. So I do want to kind of point out that there's why he was cut so short, because of that leg injury. But when you look at it, Logan, by the breakdown, in 2023, he was 505 yards at 5.6 yards at attempt. In 2022, he was at 7.2 yards per throw. In 2021, he was 7.9. And in 2020, he was 6. Now, again, I want to point out some of those were injuries, but even when he was on the field and healthy, Logan, every year from 2020 to 2000 or till now, really, he's gone down in his yards per throw. So I say that to say this: if you're getting worse as the time goes along, it's probably going to not fix itself. And that's why I think for that reason, but with the fact that Cade McNamara is just not a very efficient guy, and the fact that, they don't have a lot of experience with their wide receiving core, I must say 6 to 7 wins, Logan.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, obviously a change was needed on the offensive side of the ball, which is what you saw maybe a little too late last season for Iowa, getting rid of Coach, Brian Ferentz, the son of the head coach, Kirk, right? And people were saying, man, you got to get rid of him sooner. And I think what happened is they waited too long. And then by the time you had the new regime come in, it wasn't enough time to get everything switched over. I mean, it's hard to change your offense mid-season. And especially when you're a good school like Iowa, who, we saw they got 10 wins last season. They competed for a championship in their conference, so they were a good team. I think that kind of really just kind of put the rails off the track is that change. Can it get better this season? I mean, I don't really know because, like you said, they're bringing back a lot of the same guys from last year who didn't really do much. So, obviously, big question marks on that end of the ball. Looking at their schedule, you mentioned a couple of the big games, obviously being Ohio State. Washington's going to be a good one also. Wisconsin as well. You got Maryland, Nebraska to end your season. Like I said, they've got some good players. As you said, Cade McNamara has been around for a while. Luke Leachy, the tight end, he's obviously, they know how to develop tight ends. They could just, I don't know what they've got in the water in Iowa, Jay, but they can make some good guys there at the tight end slot. But I mean, when you look at the rest of this team, though, I mean, you got, like you said, with Leachy, you've got the good running back depth as well. And then the O-line, we'll see what they can do this upcoming season, if they can, help protect McNamara from going down. Once again, hopefully he stays healthy this season. And for the defense, like I said, the defense was definitely the strong point for this squad. They didn't really add a whole lot of guys in the transfer portal because a lot of the guys came back, as you mentioned, Jay Higgins, Nick Jackson. Higgins led the Big Ten last year in terms of tackles. Jackson, he started every game after transferring over from Virginia. So Jay, just last year, 2 starters from last season on the defensive line had to be replaced, but they've got some good quality there. They have some really good players like Cooper DeJean, of course. We know he is gone. I think he went to Philadelphia. Then you got Quinn Schultz, Xavier Wakpa, and Sebastian Castro. All those guys, they started before, so it's not like it's a bunch of fresh guys who've barely touched the field. So right. I don't expect their defense to really take a big dip. I think it might get a little bit, but not a fall from grace or anything like that. Like I said, to me, it's all about the offense, man. Can you score points on the board?
Yeah.
I mean, that's the main thing. Also, another thing, too, about this team, they lost Torrey Taylor, who was the 2023 Ray Guy Award winner. So he has left. So you're losing, obviously, a really good guy on special teams. You bring in Reese Dawkin to help out, as well as Drew Stevens this upcoming year for your special teams guys. So I think Iowa, I don't know if they'll get to 10 wins. I think maybe 7, 8. I just don't see them still on the same level as teams like Ohio State. I don't see them there quite yet. Did they have some good games last year? Were they dominant? Of course. We know that they had a good record, that they were pretty high in the polls at one point. But when it came to putting points on the board, if their defense had a rough night, that they couldn't match up. They weren't up to par with the other teams who were also high-powered on both ends of the ball. So big questions out of Iowa this year, but if you guys are a Hawkeyes fan, put us in the comments. How will this team do? Will their offense improve? Will it get back to better levels? And where will they finish this year? Will they get into the championship game? Will they maybe make it to the top 12 in the college football playoffs? Who knows? We want to hear it, though, in our comments. Jay, I appreciate you, my friend, coming on the show, talking about Iowa and their 2024 team preview. I've been your host and producer, Logan Landers. Guys, until next time, we'll talk to you again on another